So if you're into philosophy at all, you're no doubt very familiar with the idea of a philosopher being vindicated, or a thinker being popularized later on, right? It's not uncommon at all for a scholar or philosopher to put out a body of work in their lifetime that people then later look back on, X number of years later, sometimes centuries, sometimes decades, and they go, oh, they were more right than maybe even they knew. In the internet age, this has happened with many philosophers. One that comes to mind most obviously is Baudrillard, right, with his idea of like simulations and hyper realities, right? So many philosophers have become so much more relevant with just how out there the world has become with all this social media stuff. One that I think is less talked about, though, and particularly relevant to this show, is Roland Barthes. I'm sure you're all familiar with Roland Barthes, especially we've mentioned him quite a bit on the show for his idea of death of the author, right? I think it is this very idea, death of the author, that has become hundreds of times more relevant and more literally accurate than Barthes could have known, right? To do a brief run through, which we've done a million times on this show, but why not one more? Death of the author is very simply put the idea the second a author or a artist releases a work into the world, they effectively die within that work. They have no bars on what the interpretation is. It can mean anything then, right? The work can be whatever it wants to be. This is most applicable in the internet age idea of something like The Matrix, right? The Matrix has been sort of, dare I say, co-opted by like a very masculine sort of crowd, the manosphere, I think is what people call it often. And the movie itself was made to kind of, what's the term I'm looking for? Reflect a transgender experience, right? I think this is one of the most apparent examples of looking at a work and going, okay, that's been embraced and the meaning has been almost changed by people that it would completely disagree with, right? If we're going by the work's intended meaning. This is the idea of death of the author, right? The idea that, I don't know who made The Matrix, the idea though that the second that they released the work into the world, were ready for that like that was gonna happen. No matter what, the movie could have been about anything, it would have been reinterpreted to mean whatever the audience wants it to mean, right? Important to mention too, I think this idea of death of the author largely, at least functionally, is true, right? I don't think that all of us at all are dogmatic about what artists intend when they make something. I do think it's a true idea that once you release a work into the world, it will be reinterpreted time and time again, right? So what do I mean when I say this has become even more true? Because oftentimes when we reevaluate, when a philosopher, decades later gets taken and gone, oh, wait, this person was really right about this, it's not often in a sense of like, they were right the whole time. Usually it's sort of, they weren't noticed before, now they're super right. Roland Barthes, with this idea of death of the author, has been pretty much right from the jump. I don't think this has been it's a controversial idea. People agree and disagree, but it's never been an idea that was out of the scope of reality, right? It was an idea that sparked conversation, not dismissal. So what do I mean when I say that I think this has become even more true? I think it's most valuable to look at something that is not often looked at all, what social media was meant to be, right? This is, of course, analyzing how this idea has become true within the social media age, how this idea has become 100 times more true. So I think it's very valuable to do something that we don't do very often. Look at what the promise of social media was. We use social media so much and we look at it in such ordinary terms now, like it's just being a fixture in our life. We look at social media like the car or the sidewalk at this point, of like it's just a thing that is, like it's just part of our lives. It's a all-encompassing thing. And, I think we forget how it was originally sold. And I think that's going to continue. I don't think that there's going to be a reevaluation of what it's going to be. But I do think it's interesting, especially because social media is relatively new. I mean, I can remember when I was a kid, hearing what the idea for it was originally, hearing how even my friends pitched it to me, versus what it ended up being in function, right? Social media, when it was first sold to all of us, was almost sold as the ultimate, like the end point of identity as a whole. And I mean, I'm putting that in kind of these grand terms, but it's very simple. I think it's something that we all kind of hoped maybe to be true, or was sold to us at one point or another, and we believed in that through social media, everyone is now Andy Warhol. You can post photos of what you do every day. You as an individual have an account. You as an individual have a voice now. You know, I mean, even look at a platform like Twitter. Dare I say Twitter has perhaps been the only successful one at doing this? Maybe, like, there's a case there, I think. You know, Twitter was sold to us as like, you and the President of the United States will both have Twitter accounts, and you can tweet anything you want at him. You both are equal in terms of identity, right? That was kind of the idea of all these social medias when they first came out. This idea that identity would be in your hands. You can put this persona on, and in this other plane, you get to be whoever you want to be, right? And you are in ultimate control. It's like, it's seen as the amplifier of identity. It makes everybody important. It makes everybody a unique individual. Once again, I think for a while this worked. Like, I think that especially if you look at the way people use like Tumblr back in the day, so much of it was just that, just sharing, individuals sharing what they were doing, what their experiences were. And I mean, there are ways I still look at social media oftentimes on this channel and go, oh, this is like a good thing. Like, there's some net goods to this. There's some things about social media as a whole that are not all bad and dystopian as much as it might seem that way, right? So for this reason, like, I'm inclined to say that we were sold a lie, right? Looking at it now, though, the way that social media actually functions, as much as there's nuggets of that original vision still in there are still great things on the internet, where, you know, we find creators or artists on the internet who can do like great things, and they actually are putting out work that is deeply moving. I don't think that the idea of all of us as individuals curating a social presence, having this grand version of identity, I don't think that that's been true at all. I don't think that anybody would argue that it's done that. I would argue it's done the opposite. I think the reason I think it's valuable to look at what social media was originally promised as is because it's done the opposite, right? And I think that's where Roland Barthes was correct. Not only on social media is there no amplification of identity. Identity is taken away, I think. I think that we talk a lot about how social media is this world of aesthetics, right? How, like, you're not actually reacting to the substance of anything on social media. It's all shapes and colors, and, you know, oh, is this cool? Is this not cool? And I think that's an accurate assessment, right? And I think because of this, I think actually it goes hand in hand. I don't think that the world of aesthetics that social media exists in is what's leading to people's identities disappearing. But I think also the identity disappearing is leading to this thing where it's only aesthetics, right? This idea that it's really hard to gain substance out of things. I mean, like, I know that you could scroll for hours on your phone on social media and have a seemingly good time, like you can enjoy yourself and gain nothing out of it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's all just shapes, colors. You know, like when you as a kid had these are so old. I feel like I'm almost dating myself saying this, but like those things where you put the viewfinder and you would go and it would show a different picture. I remember I had one of like a dinosaur as a kid, like T-Rex, Triceratops. Like, it'd show all these different animals. That's what social media is, right? I believe this comparison's been made before. I don't think I'm the first person to say this. And nobody would ever say that you could use one of these things and learn about, you know, anything other than what these pictures look like. You know, yeah, you can learn what a T-Rex looks like, but you'll never actually get substance out of these things, right? Social media operates in the same way. And I think that's where Roland Barthes' idea of the death of the author comes in so importantly here, because I think that not only when you post something and put it out in the world is it deeply detached from who you are as an individual, right? That is true, and that's the death of the author in its classical form that we're seeing happen, right? But I think even past that, even taking things to the next level, I believe that the second that you make a platform, that you start curating an outward thing, you as an individual lose your own identity. And I think that this is true not only if you're just making content, not only if you're just putting things out, but also if you're interacting with it. I think that one of the most obvious examples here is that we all get turned into a number on social media, right? I am small enough of a creator where I know the names of, like, I'll recognize names of people who interact with my stuff, and I appreciate you all very much, thank you. But, you know, outside of that, there's people who watch this every day, like, that I don't know who they are, and they're just a number on a screen, and that takes away your identity. That's inherently, I mean, I'm not going to go as far as calling it dehumanizing. I wouldn't say it's, I wouldn't say it's dehumanizing in like a sociological sense, but it is in a sense, it strips you of something, right? I don't think that's a controversial thing at all to say. And in this way, I think that not only is Roland Barthes' idea correct in its original vein, that when you upload something to social media, you as the author effectively are removed from the work, right? I would say that not only are you removed from the work, but you almost are removed from yourself in a sense too. I feel like as I get to, I feel like some of this is very like simple, normal stuff about death of the author, but I do think there's an element that I'm kind of having trouble articulating, where the author themselves makes a conscious decision to lose some identity in what they're putting out there because of the way it's going to be consumed, right? When I make a video like this, that I would like to think, or at least I aim to, provide some sort of substance past usually social media just being a bunch of flashing colors, right? I make the conscious decision that, okay, in, tomorrow, when this goes up for all of you, it's going to get clipped, and there's going to be 1 minute snippets put out, and those snippets are going to be removed from the original context, right? And if we have death of the author here, the author releases a work, it's removed from the author, right? We now have the author releases a work, the work is removed from that work. The author not only doesn't exist in the original work, but is out of the equation altogether. Their identity might as well not exist. That is what I believe is happening with social media. I think that when we put things out there, we are not only dying in our work in terms of the original classical sense that our interpretation is now meaningless to the work, but I think we are also dying in a deeper sense where we not only have no control over the interpretation of the work, but also every single element surrounding the work, where it's going to go, what it's going to mean to who, and also if we are even attached to it at all. I mean, so many of the clips that you see of creators on a daily basis are not uploaded by that creator. I think that's a great example of it. The author, not only it doesn't exist in the work, they don't need to exist at all. I know multiple creators whose pages I've never been to. And it's almost in that sense that I feel like we are so removed from the people creating things on social media. And one of the reasons that, even past clips and content and all this fluff, that art has trouble functioning on social media. This is the painting. I wanted to go backwards, so I've been getting crazier over the last couple paintings, doing more abstract shapes, playing more with the black, and I way overdid that yesterday, so I wanted to pull back today and just kind of re-ground what I'm going for here, and just come back in and do a very simple, simple stuff. Pink background, yellow sphere for contrast, black shadows in the style that I'm liking. I like it. It's boring now because I've gone further with the style, so it's a little uninteresting to me, but I like it, and I think it does what I want to do well. I want to reground the style and hopefully come back tomorrow and experiment in some different ways. So go check this out on the Instagram, the TikTok, and until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 277. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.